down in a drinking contest.
Here we go. Okay. Okay, hope everyone's doing good. I hope everyone's having a great day today. Okay.
Always the same. No damn follow through.
Okay, just 1 second here, everyone. Hey, everyone. Okay, how you guys doing? Oh, my horse is hungry, and so is my character. Okay. Why don't you hop in GTA Online free mode lobbies? I mean, I do when I stream on Wednesdays. Okay. Weekend's going good. Yeah, I'm playing with a few friends right now. Okay. Yeah, Sundays. I play GTA a few other days sometimes in the week, but, I really have fun playing on the stream lobbies, because public lobbies, I tend to stay away from them. There's a lot of... I sometimes encounter some really toxic people in public sessions. What's your next lore video? Well, it's gonna be a surprise. I'm gonna have it out this month, probably. It's gonna be GTA 4 again, that's the only thing I can say. It's gonna be on GTA 4. Can't wait for well, I mean... Blinded Eagle, thank you for the super chat, but I mean, you shouldn't want to wait for something like that. But what I will say is that the character of Abby was just written really poorly, but the actress should not be getting, you know, harassed over something like that. It should, you can criticize the character, but I think, like, some of the toxic fans that harass the actress, I think that's going way too far. Hey, Pro, how are you? Also got a PS5. Do you play with subs when you stream? Yeah, I do, Whiskey. How are you, man? And there's a, oh, you're being sarcastic. Okay, okay, Blinded Eagle. I understand. Yeah, I mean, the actress is doing their job. The thing about that is, usually when, you know, there's, like, an actor that plays, like, a video game character or a movie character and does, like, a really bad job, oftentimes people blame the actor, but it's mostly the director. It's the person that's writing the script. They're the ones at fault, unless it's their acting itself. But it's just, it's that oftentimes it's the script. It's the bad story writing. Like, I don't have anything against any of the actors that play in the new Star Wars movies, even though I think the new Star Wars movies are crap, because they followed the script, they did, you know, what they had to do for the movie, but just the story was just not good. No, I'm looking, Lendon. The firearms range in Manhunt is unrealistically low, like 10 to 12 meters low, even for primary firearms. Also, Cerberus is ace tier, ex-Special Forces mercs. Okay, well, I'm gonna say is... the melee combat in Manhunt is pretty good, but I gotta say the gun combat is pretty bad. It is. It's just, I cannot believe the range the handguns have in that game. Like, they're so bad. It's like the pistols have like the same range like most shotguns do in video games. It's just terrible. Thank you, London, for that super chat. But yeah, like, people think that a pistol can only like hit you at like, you know, 50 meters, but they'll be surprised. You know, some pistols can hit you at a couple hundred meters. It depends on the pistol and the cartridge, but, you know, some pistols can go very, very far. People will be very surprised by that. Thank you, Lendon, and thank you, Mr. Nowhere. Great job with the Pegrino lore video. Also, what do I think of Carcer City so far? Well, Carcer City is probably the most dangerous city in the 3D universe. A lot of people probably think it's Liberty City, but it's probably Carcer City at this point. Because it is in the same universe as GTA, the old GTA games. Hey, Pro, did you hear about that guy in Las Vegas who tackled a judge who was sentencing him? Boy, that guy is getting the book thrown at him. Well, the thing is that the judge was able to see through the guy and see that it was an act, because before the guy tackled the judge, he was basically saying, he's like, you know, I've been behaving, and I think I should get probation, I don't think I should get sent to jail, and the judge is basically like, no, you know, you're going to jail, you gotta be punished, and then the guy gets all pissed off and attacks the judge, and that basically proved the judge right, that that person was not ready for probation. The unfortunate thing is that there's a lot of districts that just give out probation right away. Like, they just fall for that and just give them probation. But sometimes these people, you gotta just put them right in jail right away. And I think that guy was a repeat offender, too. So, you know, there has to be a punishment. You know, you can consider probation if it's not a very serious offense, and if it's their very first offense, then maybe you could consider probation. But if somebody's like a repeat offender, there's no reason you should consider probation. It's like you throw them in jail. Thanks for the advice earlier, I'll let you know. No problem, Ant. Thank you for the super chat. And hey, Victoria, how are you? Thank you for the super chat also. You playing Manhunt gives me life. I love playing through the game last summer, and it was very fun, terrifying at the same time. Cash is underrated. You want to know what's been going on with Manhunt, though? The first part has not gotten demonetized, but then pretty much every part after that has been getting hit with demonetization. So, like, every part of Manhunt has been, like, you know, it's not like a strike. It's not like that, but, like, I get a little, you know, pop-up on my video that basically says this video is not appropriate for monetization, it's not advertiser-friendly. So basically, the Manhunt playthrough, most of it is getting, you know, demonetized at this point, but it's still, it's fine. You know, we're still having fun playing the game, and it's a game that people have heavily requested, but, since Reddit Online follows real-time, it means it's now 1904. Technically, yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I would say Manhunt is more brutal than Kane and Lynch. I would agree with you. Am I enjoying Manhunt? Yes, for the most part, but the thing I'll tell you is, the thing that I don't like about Manhunt is the guns. I think the guns are just terrible in that game. They handle poorly. It's just the gunplay is just really, like, it's kind of weird, because Vice City, the gunplay in Vice City was so much better, and the gunplay in San Andreas is way better. And it's like a game made by Rockstar. So you'd think the gunplay would be a bit better. A script is 98% done. I'm gonna redo the thumbnail as well. Okay, Blinded Eagle. I hope it goes well, and I can probably help you with that project later this month. Hey Pro, how you doing? I'm doing good, Marcus. How are you, man? Thank you guys for the super chats. What game am I playing after Manhunt? I'm gonna finish up Medal of Honor Pacific Assault, because I decided that I'm only gonna do one playthrough at a time, because it's really getting, when I start up multiple playthroughs, it gets very hard. So if I just focus on just one playthrough, I can just get that done. So when I finish Manhunt, I'm gonna finish up Medal of Honor, which I put out part last month, but I didn't get around to, you know, doing the next parts, unfortunately. I've just been so busy with just so many things. Hey Pro, I'm sorry to cancel my membership for your channel. I was not doing good financially, but I'm doing much better now. Thank you for the super chat, Austin. But Austin, I appreciate the super chat, but you don't have to explain that to me. It's fine. I understand it. You don't have to explain that to me. It's perfectly fine. I understand. It's okay. And also, I want everybody to know that if you super chat me, or you support me on Patreon, or you do a channel memberships, know that I greatly appreciate it. I always appreciate everyone's support. It is an option that's available on the channel. It does help me out tremendously, but I don't want people to feel like they need to, super chat or become a channel member or Patreon supporter for me to read your comments or even play with you or interact with you. I will interact with everyone that I possibly can. I try my best. But I don't want people to feel like they need to, in order to, to have my, support. But I do appreciate it, Austin. Thank you for the, super chat, but your financial situation is the most important, and, I fully understand. Thank you, for the super chat. I like your hat, thank you. Has the has Manhunt even confirmed what Cash was in prison for? He was getting the death penalty. I'm assuming it was murder. But it's another thing. Lionel Starkweather has connections with Gary Schaefer, Carcer City Police Department chief. I'm pretty sure you're gonna have more of a disaster if they respond. Well, I already know who Gary Schaefer is. Even though I've never played Manhunt before, he's in GTA 3. That's what people don't know about that, because Manhunt and GTA 3, or the 3D GTA games, is in the same universe. So Manhunt takes place 2 years after GTA 3. But anyways, Gary Schaefer, if you actually go on the radio, you can actually listen. It's on Head Radio, I believe. Head Radio is reading the news, and they basically say that that there's like a police chief in Carcer City called Gary Schaefer who has been like accused of corruption, and that every single one of his all the witnesses against him disappeared, and they haven't been found, and that charges have basically been dropped. And so just from that alone, that radio broadcast, I already knew that Gary Schaefer was a really bad guy. So that's so he is in GTA 3. A very small appearance on the radio, but he's there. Hi, Professional. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, Sam. Thank you for the super chat. Merryweather will probably be called something else in GTA 6. No, they're probably going to have the same name. But here's the thing. Merryweather lost their license to operate in San Andreas after the events of GTA 5. So the San Andreas government actually revoked their license to operate in the state. And the thing about that is, Rockstar has kind of violated their own lore by constantly bringing Merryweather in future updates. So future updates, Merryweather's like running big operations in GTA Online, but GTA Online is past the main story at this point, so it really violates the lore when you really think about it. But thank you, U20, for the super chat. I read your super chat, Lyndon. Thank you, Austin, for sponsoring my channel. I do appreciate it, man. And GTA 6 is now the most viewed trailer of all time, and I'll probably get The Last of Us 2 Special Edition. And if I do, I'll probably unbox it, so if y'all want to know what it looks like, well, I think you know where I'm going. Yeah, I mean, unboxing videos are very, always very cool to do, but just make sure that if you do an unboxing, make sure you do it the first or second day, because that way you will get the most amount of views. Because like when a new game comes out, if you want to do an unboxing, you have to do it like right when the new game comes out. Thank you, Blinded Eagle, for that super chat. You were destined to don the James Cash attire. Well, thank you, Victor Hugo Martinez. Thank you for the super chat. The skins, War Dogs, and Innocents make the Raskolov Mafia, Merryweather, Masako, the Colombians from GTA 3, look like saints in comparison. Yeah, those gangs are much more evil than the gangs in they're much more evil than the gangs in the GTA games. And the skins, I believe the skins are probably based on the Aryan Brotherhood, which is a pretty large neo-Nazi gang. It was a gang that was formed in prisons, and they also appeared in Fight Night Champions. So my previous playthrough that you saw, those were the guys who actually jumped Andre in prison. But yeah, those guys are some pretty bad guys. But what I will say though is that the Aryan Brotherhood, the largest neo-Nazi gang, they aren't just a gang, but they're technically a terrorist organization, because most gangs do not have any kind of political affiliation. They might be involved with like corrupt politicians, but they typically don't have any kind of political affiliation. But the Aryan Brotherhood, they're neo-Nazi, so they're a gang. They operate drugs. They commit robberies. But they also support a fascist ideology. So they're also a terrorist organization, because terrorism is basically committing crimes for political motive. What would I like to see in GTA 6? I would like to see a more dark storyline. Like, I want to see something like GTA 4 in a storyline. I don't want it to go crazy, non-stop action like GTA 5. I want it to be a, dark storyline. I want it to be serious. I don't mind some crazy action from time to time, but I don't want something like GTA 5 where it's just they're sacrificing the story for the crazy action constantly. Do you know about Samuel Mad Sam Di Stefano? No, who is that? General's alert. Thank you for the super chat. In San Andreas, there's a commercial about Carcer City, and they desperately try paint the city as a great vacation spot. Oh, I didn't know about that. What radio is that one on? Thank you, Mr. Nowhere, for the super chat. And thank you, let me see here. I think I, see here, the guy in the Manhunt cover is Donald Love, but it's just a theory. What? Next time you play Cringe Hero, you should put clown makeup on. Oh, man. How do you deal with hate comments? What do you mean by hate comments? Do you mean, like, comments that are just insulting me? Or are you talking about, like, comments like, you know, posting, like, racist stuff and stuff like that? Well, it depends, you know, on the comment. But if somebody is, you know, posting any kind of, you know, racist stuff, you know, I'll typically remove the comment, I'll kick them out of the chat. But if it's, like, a person that's just, like, insulting me, like, you know, they're calling me an idiot, you know, stuff like that, I typically ignore it. I don't ban them. I don't kick them out of my chat. You know, I just let them, you know, let them say what they want. Because I, you know, I'm a big free speech guy. You know, I believe in free speech, and so even if people, you know, come to my channel and, you know, they, and, you know, they insult me, they call me an idiot, stuff like that, I'm not going to kick them out, I'm not going to ban them. Like I said, the only time I ban people from the chat or kick them out is when they're posting racist stuff, because that's going to bother, you know, other people, and I don't want other people getting harassed, and so I don't tolerate that behavior. But if they're just like, you know, if they're just, you know, coming in the chat and just, like, insulting me, you know, calling me an idiot, then, you know, I just ignore it. I don't kick them out or anything like that. Who do you think is the most evil GTA 5 protagonist? Probably Trevor. Yeah, probably Trevor, I'd say. But yeah, I will ban people from the chat if they are, you know, posting racist stuff, or if they're posting a scam. That will, you know, get banned from the chat. But everything else, you know, them calling me an idiot, stuff like that, you know, I'll let them insult me in the chat. Why don't you, why you don't want to see an Oppressor Mark III? Because it does not belong in a GTA game. It just, here's the thing about it, guys. Even if the Oppressor Mark II was not overpowered, even if it wasn't, like, you know, annoying where people were constantly killing each other with it, even if it just had, like, a flight, let's just say it had no missiles, all you could basically do on it was just fly from, like, point A to point B. Even if it had that, I would still want to delete it from the game. And the reason, my logic for that is because I just don't think that it belongs in a GTA game. I just don't think it does. I think that it just, it doesn't belong there. I think it's out of place. It just ruins the immersion of the game. And, like, I'll give you like a perfect example of how the Oppressor Mark II ruins the immersion. It's like, you know, me and my friends, you know, when we were doing, like, MC contracts, for example, we were role-playing, like, a biker gang, we were just, like, you know, using old-style motorcycles in GTA Online, it's like driving down the highway, and then, like, some guy flies right over us in the Oppressor Mark II. And just starts, like, following us. And even if he's not, like, you know, attacking us or anything like that, that just ruins the immersion. Because, you know, we're trying to roleplay as, like, biker gangsters and stuff like that, and there's some guy in some, like, futuristic flying motorcycle. So it's like, you know, stuff like that, I don't think it belongs in, like, a crime game like GTA, and I think that it does ruin the immersion, and I think it just takes the fun out of the game. You know, it's just, I know that GTA is not supposed to be a realistic game, I get that, but at least all the vehicles in GTA Online are based on real vehicles, even most of the military stuff. But that is just too far. I don't care about the military vehicles like the fighter jets and stuff like that. That can stay. But I don't want things like the Oppressor Mark II, the Deluxo. I don't want those things in the game. I think they should just be thrown out of the game. Orbital Cannon 2, I don't think that belongs in the GTA game. The idea that, like, a criminal could get access to some, like, you know, kinetic energy weapon that's, like, in space and just, like, blow people up with the push of a button is just, you know, stupid enough already. So that's what I'll say about that. Is I just, you know, that's just my view on it, personally. I got a lot of hate for that oppressor stuff. You know, I've had people come in my comment sections for like years telling me, oh, you know, I don't support the game being fun and I want it ruined because I don't like the Oppressor Mark II. But I don't care. Even if 90% of the people like the Oppressor Mark II, I'm still gonna, you know, stick to my opinion, even if it's unpopular. I just don't think it belongs in the game. It's my view. You know, feel free to disagree with me, but I'm just telling you why I don't like it. I think it ruins the immersion of the game. I don't think it belongs in a crime game like GTA. I think it's just stupid. I think it's dumb. And also, what people don't know is that the Oppressor Mark II is already a rip-off Saints Row. That's what people don't know. In Saints Row the Third, they already added an Oppressor Mark II before the GTA Online even had it. There was like a futuristic flying motorcycle that the Stag, you know, police would use, and they would chase you down with it. And that's basically what the Oppressor Mark II is on. You can watch the Saints Row the Third videos. You can see it in there. It's there. So it's already been a copy off of Saints Row the Third. Hey Pro, could you see GTA 6 mentioned, Trevor? There's definitely going to be references to the previous GTA games, definitely in the comments. I mean, in the video, in the game. Anyone saying that GTA 6 is woke because of Lucia is either being sexist or their kids adding a female protagonist to GTA 6, not like making Nico Bellic female in the definitive edition of GTA 4. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Bunny. You know, I typically don't like political stuff being in games. I don't. But there's absolutely nothing woke about GTA 6. If you want to know what game is woke, it's Saints Row, the reboot. That game's woke. GTA 6 is not woke. It just has nothing to do with it whatsoever. Nothing. So I don't know, like, you know, having a female character, there's nothing woke about that whatsoever. It's nothing woke about it. I don't know why people get so upset about that, because, you know, I'm actually interested in seeing a playable female character because we never see female gangsters' perspective in the GTA games. So it'll be nice to see a female gangster's perspective on the criminal underworld as well. So it'll be nice to see that. So I don't know, like, you know, those people complaining about stuff like that, they're stupid, they're dumb, they don't know what they're talking about. Honestly, the only time that I think it was fair to criticize female characters being added to a game, the only time, is when you had a game like Battlefield 5. That game like years ago, when Battlefield 5 was coming out, they added like female characters to like the British Army during World War II, the German Army. They added female characters in the American Army and the Japanese Army, and that just made absolutely no sense. Because there was no female soldiers serving in those militaries back then. That didn't happen. There was only 2 countries that really had female soldiers in World War II, and that was Poland, at the start of the war, and then there was the Soviet Union. And those are really the only 2 countries that I know of that had female soldiers serving. But females did serve in combat in World War II, but they served in the resistance. So in the Soviet Army, mostly, as military in the Soviet Army, a lot of times as snipers, but also in the resistance. So like when you had the French resistance and you had the Polish resistance, you had plenty of female fighters in that, a lot. So in Battlefield 5, if they wanted to add female characters to that game, they should have added them in the resistance. When they added like resistance characters, like playable French resistance, stuff like that, that would have been, you know, fine. But when they're adding, like, in the multiplayer, they're adding, like, female characters in the American and, like, you know, the British Army, that's just historically inaccurate at the same time. And it was, they were saying that Battlefield 5 is the most historically accurate game. That's what the developer said. They said it was a historically authentic World War II game, which, that, like I said, that's the only time that I think you could really criticize female characters in a game, when it's historically inaccurate. But, like, having a female character in, like, a gangster game, like, you know, like GTA 6, there's nothing wrong about that, and I think it's perfectly fine, and I think the people, you know, complaining about that, I think that that's, you know, that's stupid, that's dumb. It doesn't make any sense. Right. Oh. Okay, let me see here. I'm gonna change my settings to, free aim. Ah. Okay, there we go. Oh, I missed a bunch of comments. Great job on the GTA 4 lore. I never knew the game was heavily influenced by The Sopranos. Thank you, Nigel Baptiste. I do appreciate the super chat. Thanks, man. But GTA 4 wasn't just inspired by The Sopranos. The Sopranos also inspired GTA 5 to an extent, and it also inspired GTA 3, and it heavily inspired Liberty City Stories. So a lot of the stuff that happens in Liberty City Stories, it heavily inspired that game as well. If you want to know what The Sopranos inspired in GTA 5, there's one part in The Sopranos TV show where basically Tony buys his spoiled son a big yellow SUV, and you can imagine where that's referenced in GTA 5. Lionel Starkweather. Okay. Yeah, I will try the Warriors. Before I play the Warriors, I gotta watch the movie though. Oh, sorry, Pro, but Reddit Online is the worst category at number 34, 38. If only Rockstar didn't leave it, and the worst, decent, good, great, great boat, best, plus, greatest of all time. I get it. Yeah, and Reddit Online could have been a very successful online multiplayer, but it's the exact same thing is gonna happen in any game that basically gets abandoned. 3 things I like to see in GTA Online: dynamic seasons, huge map expansion support, and not being able to see other players in the map. Yeah, I would like not being able to see other players in the map. I would personally like that. You know what, U20, you've inspired me to make a poll right now. I'm gonna make a poll about that. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna credit you though. Let's make a poll about this right now. Okay, do you think Gus Fring is a psychopath? No. No, I would say no, because he definitely was extremely bothered by his business partner's death that extremely hurt him. So no, I would say no. A psychopath isn't gonna care. Okay. Love your walkthroughs, Pro. Keep going. Thank you, Trav Dogs. Thank you, man, for the super chat. So you know I was referring to GTA 6 Online. I know what you're talking about, U20. I know. But, okay, let me just, hold on. I'm gonna make a poll about this right now, But also, guys, a lot of you guys ask me if certain characters in video games are psychopaths. The easiest way to tell if a character is a psychopath in a movie or a video game, the easiest way to tell is just simply see, is there anybody that they care about at all? Like, anybody. Is there anybody that they love, that they like, that they care about, that they would be upset if that person got hurt? If the answer is yes, they're not a psychopath, because a psychopath is not going to care about anybody, even their parents. Their parents could die, and they're not going to care. So if there's somebody that they actually care about, even if the character is really evil, if there's at least one person that they care about, then they're not a psychopath. A psychopath does not care about anyone. There's no one that they care about whatsoever. Like I said, perfect example is Dimitri in GTA 4. Does not care about anyone whatsoever. No one. Hold on 1 second here. I'm gonna post a poll in a moment here. Why did Ashley Butler owe Dmitry Raskolov money? Because she's stupid and borrowed money for drugs. What is this? Bounty target? Okay. Where is this dude? Why do you use free aim? Because I just like the challenge of it more. It's like, it's one of the reasons that I keep playing Red Dead Online is because I'm trying to get better with free aim.
Get him, goddammit, get him! You ain't getting away! You son of a bitch!
Oh.
I lay you flat!
Do you think Saints Row will ever go back to its gangsta roots? Also, do you think Ralph from Sopranos is a psychopath? No, because Ralph does care about his kids. Ralph is just an extreme sociopath. Ralph is even more of a sociopath than Tony, believe it or not. He's actually worse than Tony. So it's, but no, Ralph is not a psychopath. I'm trying to think if there's any psychopaths in The Sopranos, when I can think of any in that show. Maybe the only psychopath in The Sopranos might be Richie. Maybe Richie was the only one. Maybe. I'm trying to think. Did Richie care about anyone? No, I don't think so. And the only reason I think he got together with Janice was just so he could get closer to Tony, because he was dating the boss's sister. That's so I don't think Richie even cared about anyone. You know. Oh, Livia. How could I forget Livia? Livia Soprano. Yes, Livia is a psychopath. 100%. Livia is, definitely. 100%. Yes. Yes, Livia is. I forgot. You know, the thing about, no, Livia was very much a psychopath, Ian. She was extremely manipulative. She was sadistic. She didn't care about anyone. You know, she just wanted her, you know, she just wanted her son killed, basically just for the fun of it, just to see, you know, what would happen. That was pretty much it. Do you think Rockstar will port GTA Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories to PS5 and Xbox Series X? Yes and no. I think Liberty City Stories will probably eventually get a port, like a definitive edition port, but I don't think that Vice City Stories will, because Vice City Stories, they need to renew the license with Phil Collins, and so they're probably not going to do that. Thank you, Quandale, for that super chat, and thank you, Antonio. Would I play a Saints Row game as Johnny Gat as the main character and take down the gangs? Yeah. I think most people would like that. The problem with Gat Out of Hell, it wasn't that you necessarily played as Johnny Gat, but that the DLC just sucked. It just was not fun DLC. Thank you, Antonio. And thank you, George. Happy Friday, everyone, Pro. I really enjoyed your Bully playthrough. Can you possibly be able to play Yakuza 0 soon? I will probably play Yakuza 0 just, sometime this year. I just have to look up what the characters are wearing, because I gotta get the outfits before I play the game. Do I think Rockstar will port GTA Liberty? Oh, yeah. Well, I answered your question before there, Sam. Well, thank you, Sam, George, and Antonio and Quandale. Thank you guys for the super chats. How would you classify Micah Bell? Micah's a psychopath. He is. How do you know so much about psychopaths? I just I studied a little bit of psychology when I was in college. Read up a bit about it, but I'm not an expert by any means. I just the only thing I know is that a psychopath, you know, they have no empathy. Oh, my screen is flickering. Hold on a second. I'll fix it. I'm sorry about that. That's a glitch of my capture card. 1 second, I'll fix that right now. Give me 1 second, everyone. Okay, let's see here. Okay. I heard cruise ships are a dark business. Thoughts? What do you mean by that? Thank you, Dark Soul. And hang on 1 second, guys. I'm gonna fix the capture card. Ah, damn. Sorry, 1 second here. 1 second here. I mean, I just gotta fix this. Hold on. Things flickering around right now. Okay, that's webcam is fixed. Okay, give me 1 second, everyone. I was having some issues with my capture card. I'm sorry, everyone. Uh, crap. Uh, okay. Okay, is the fifth video of Manhunt the last one? It is uh, for tonight, but no, I'm still gonna have a lot of parts of it up. Uh, and what do you mean by that, Dark Soul? Can you explain the cruise ship thing? Uh, yes, he could be Pierston. Majima, one of the protagonists in Yakuza 0 wears an eye patch. Oh, that's not hard to do. That'll be easy. Uh, uh, yes, I'll play the South Park games one day. I'll definitely play those one day. Hey, just give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna have to unplug my whole capture card setup because it's being annoying right now. Hopefully that fixes it. Uh, Dead Rising 2? Yeah, I'll play Dead Rising 2 on the channel one day. I'll definitely play that one day on the channel. Okay, okay, 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about this crap, guys. I've had issues with this capture card in years, and it's doing this crap now. Being glitchy on the stream today. Uh, okay, there we go. Okay, hold on a second. I just have to fix my camera now. This is just... Okay, there we go. Can everyone see everything now? Is that everything good? Yeah, everything good now? Okay, that was a... Okay, yeah. Capture card seems to be fine. What I did to fix the problem, the flickering, when I basically I unplugged it and plugged it back in, and then it went black, and then when I plugged it into a new USB slot, it worked. So, it might be the USB slot in my computer, that's what it might be. Okay. We're back, yeah. Sorry about that delay there. That sucked. Some people go missing on cruise ships? What? Some say people go missing on cruise ships? What do you mean, Dark Soul? Do I know about Manhunt 2? I know the game. I know Manhunt 2 is even more controversial than Manhunt 1. Can you rank the 3D and HD GTA games from worst to best? I would say that the worst 3D game... I don't know if I would... Honestly, Stefab, I don't know about the thing worst to best, because worst is not the word that I would use, because all the GTA games are great games in general. Some of them are, you know, weaker than others, but, you know, the weakest GTA game in the 3D universe would probably be GTA 3. Not much in the character, the story's kind of all over the place. Next game in the line would probably be Liberty City Stories. After that, next game would be, one to choose then, at that point. Probably, I would say Vice City, then Vice City Stories, and then San Andreas. Hey, Pro, just wanted to say thank you for being a nice dude. I've been watching so many streamers lately who manipulate their audience for money. It's so refreshing to hear somebody say it's not necessary to give. Thank you, Fernando. Thanks for the, thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it, man. And what I will say, is... Oh, crap. I'll see if I can take this guy out quietly here. Oh, crap. What I will say, though, about that, Fernando. Oh, crap, what just happened here? Got the gas lamp, I think. Listen, I don't want to tell people, you know, what to do with their private time. But what I will say is, I'll say this. Is, if you, if you are watching, like, a YouTube channel, and that YouTube channel basically tries to, like, guilt trip you into donating to them, I would not watch them personally. I would just stay away from a channel like that. Because the thing that personally pisses me off, I'll tell you this. One thing that really, you know, irritates me a lot is when people think that they're entitled to a donation. That irritates me a bit. That pisses me off. Because nobody is entitled to a donation. Nobody deserves a donation. You get the donation when people think that, when people like your content, they like you as a person, they like your channel, they will then donate to you. If they truly like your content, it's up to them. But, like, trying to guilt trip people into, like, into a donation is just disgusting. And what I will say is that every single viewer helps make a YouTuber make a living. Every single viewer does. So, here's the thing about this, is if you encounter some scumbag YouTuber, right? And they tell you, oh, you know, you have to super chat me so I can pay the bills and stuff like that. Well, you're already helping them pay the bills. Even if you don't donate to them, you are still supporting every YouTuber financially, even if you never donated to a YouTuber. You know how? Because when you watch their videos, you are helping them to get ad revenue. So even if you don't donate to a channel, you are still helping that channel get money. Because that channel will, when you watch the YouTube video, the ad pops up, you might watch it, you might skip it, but regardless, you're still, you know, helping them make money, because when you watch those ads, that's where the bulk of YouTubers' money comes from. Bulk of YouTubers' money does not come from super chats. Most YouTubers, it actually comes from ad revenue. The only time I could see ad revenue, super chats being the bulk of a YouTuber's money is when most of their videos get demonetized, but that is not the case for most YouTubers. So, that's what I will say about that, is that, you know, if you ever encounter, like, a scumbag YouTuber, right, and they tell you, you know, you have to donate to me, you have to give me money, because, you have to give me money, you have to donate to me, because, it's, blah, 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 that you have to help me pay the bills and you get free content. If you ever encounter somebody like that, you know, saying something like that to you, you just basically tell them, no, we don't get free content, because we watch ads on your channel, and you make money from that. So that's what I'll say, is that, you know, those people that, like, those YouTubers, if you ever watch those YouTubers and they say, oh, you have to donate to me because you're getting free content, you tell them, no, we're not getting free content. We would only get free content if your videos didn't have ads on them. But because, you know, we're watching ads, you're getting money from that. So that's what I would say about it. You're talking about Wings of Redemption, he's an e-beggar? Well, I don't even know who that guy is. The only thing I know is I've gotten videos recommended to me, like shorts with him in it, where he's like ranting about Call of Duty. That's the only thing I know about that guy. But I know there's a lot of YouTubers that, like, they guilt trip, you know, subscribers into donating, and I say, you know, don't. Because I would honestly challenge any of these YouTubers to a debate who say that their subscribers should, like, super chat. I would challenge any of them to a debate. Because that is, like, that's just honestly disgusting.
Interested in no scrap paper.
What the? Okay, we got a treasure map too. When Lucia talks about trust to Jason in the GTA 6 trailer, chances on being the cutscene for the final mission, or at least near the end, No, probably somewhere halfway through the story, that's what I would say. And Lucia and Jason probably don't know each other at the beginning of the game. That's probably just gonna happen. They're probably not gonna meet until later on. Phil Bell being paranoid about helicopters following him is a reference to Goodfellas, where Henry Hill gets paranoid for the same reason. Yep. And I would say that, you know, Phil Bell is gonna survive because it's how paranoid he is. I think, like, Pegorino not taking a lot of that stuff seriously, I think, was his downfall, too. Will I ever play any of the South Park games? I'll give them a try one day. In your opinion, what's the worst game you've played as far as storyline? Right now, recently, it would be Modern Warfare 3. Modern Warfare 3, right, the most recent game that I played is the worst storyline. And the Modern Warfare 3 rant is still coming, so that's what I'm working on next now. Now that the Pegorino lore video is out of the way, you know, that's what I'm going to start working on. Liking the stream, CJ or Tommy more evil? Tommy probably did way more damage, I would say, probably, yeah. Good news, Ian, Nico and I are finally, good news, Ian, Nico, and I are finally getting started on our Overdrive fanfic series. Probably our biggest passion project yet. You missed Super Chats, by the way. Thank you. Thank you, Dio Gaming. Are you gonna post this in, like, a book when you're finally done with this? Like, where will this be? Thank you, General's Alert, also, and, Is Manhunt on stream a pirated copy? Technically, yes. Rockstar literally took the pirated version of Manhunt and then sold it. That's what basically Rockstar was doing, because they lost the source code, apparently, to Manhunt. And I had to install several patches, because there are so many glitches in the pirated version of Manhunt. That's the Steam version. So I paid for the game. I paid for the Steam version, and yet Rockstar sells you the, you know, pirated version. And you guys know the first mission in Manhunt when you kill that, like, that first hood and then you, like, run down that alley and there's, like, a gate and the guy comes through it? Well, once you kill him, you can't open the gate. That's on the Steam version. It will not open. So you literally have to install a patch to fix that. And then there's other glitches where, like, the sound will loop constantly. I actually had that happen when I was doing the Junkyard mission in Part 2. Yes, he does, Dark Soul. Wait, what's wrong, London? Yeah, that's the thing is, I regret that. I should have played the Manhunt Xbox, you know, Xbox One version, or it is the Xbox 360 version, but it's for backwards compatibility, or your Xbox One, Xbox original version backwards compatibility. I should have done that. I should have played that one. That's what I should have played. I shouldn't have played the PC version because there were so many bugs. I didn't realize the PC version was so buggy. Okay, here we go. How would an interaction between Livia Soprano and Mrs. Chu play out? Well, they probably would hate each other because Mrs. Chu loves her son. Mrs. Chu loves her son. Livia doesn't really love her son. Why do I keep losing influence in Bannerlord? Oh, thank you, Greatest Within. It might be because of armies. Armies, you need to maintain that. But there might be other factors. For example, if you there might be policies in your kingdom where, like, the higher your clan tier, the more influence you get, and then there might be, like, certain policies that are put in to cap the amount of influence you can get. And if you lose, like, a city or a fort that's giving you influence, then you'll lose more influence per turn. So that's I hope that explained that. Am I actually 46? Why do you think I'm 46? I'm 29 years old. Thank you, Chief Addict, of the super chat. Yeah, and that's what I'll say, little man, is that Xbox, as somebody who plays primarily on PlayStation, I will tell you, Xbox has defeated Sony when it comes to backwards compatibility. They have beaten Sony 100%. There is no question about that. They have defeated Sony in that. I don't understand why can't PS5 have backwards compatibility. Like, imagine if they were selling like a PS5, right? And they told people this is the ultimate PlayStation, where you can play PS4, PS3, and PS2 games, maybe even PS1 games. But that'd be probably going a bit too far. But like, if it had backwards compatibility of like PS2 and PS3 games, like hundreds of games, like that would, they would be able to easily defeat Xbox on that, but they don't. So I don't know why they're losing the backwards compatibility fight on that. Sony is overall winning the console war, but Xbox is winning the fight in backwards compatibility. Yeah, my horse is hungry. Feed the horse too. Okay, you want to sell it right now? Okay. Invite me to your posse. My favorite game series ever? Probably a GTA series. Try these. Wielding, yeah, please. Yeah, what people don't know about the volcanic pistol is that the volcanic pistol is actually a disaster. Like, it looks cool in video games, but it was actually a failure in real life. Hey Pro, is there any games you played that criticize the Chinese government along with Kane and Lynch Dog Days and Siphon Filter 2? There's only one other game that I've played that I know that criticizes the Chinese government, and it is not, it's not a game I played on that channel, but it's called Operation Flashpoint Red River, if you ever played that one. Okay, invite me to the, Moonshine Shack when you're ready. Are you a fan of stealth? Yeah, I usually like stealth in games. Oh, I missed your super chat, I'm sorry. I joined a kingdom, my clan is only level 2 right now. Well, it's really hard to gain influence at that point. But you will, it'll become easier to gain influence as you level up. Thank you, Greatest. And thank you, E-Man. GTA 6 might be Rockstar's the last best, us everyone left. I think GTA 6 will be, a success, and Think about it this way. A lot of the people that left Rockstar probably did work on the project a bit before they left. That probably did happen, too.
Me and your boss, we'll be running this whole state within the year. Okay then, good.
What nerf is stupid? Cayo Perico, Heist, or Payphone hits? Both, but I think the Cayo Perico nerf was probably the stupidest one. Your shirt looks sick. Well, thank you. I fear Call of Duty World at War. Yes, they did. All I'm gonna remember about is the clickbait, yep. But guys, here's the thing. When GTA 6 comes out, it's not going to end the clickbait. It's not. Does anybody know what happened with Red Dead Redemption 2 once Red Dead Redemption 2 came out? The people who are clickbaiting Red Dead Redemption 2, because there was a lot of people that were clickbaiting Red Dead 2 content before Red Dead Redemption 2 even came out. Now, do you know what those people started doing after Red Dead Redemption 2 came out? The Red Dead clickbaiters, and anybody here know in the comments what they were doing? Yes, Owned Titan. You are right on that. But, does anybody remember this? And Owned Titan brings up a point. It was, what the Red Dead 2 clickbaiters, and a lot of times the Red Dead 2 clickbaiters are also the GTA clickbaiters. They're the exact same people. But here's what they started doing. After Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, they started doing... oh crap. They started, the Red Dead 2 clickbaiters started doing Undead Nightmare Part 2 coming out. That's what they started doing, Undead Nightmare clickbait. When people want Undead Nightmare, and the clickbaiters know that, but there was no evidence Undead Nightmare was coming out. And then you know what they started doing? They started doing clickbait. Remember those videos like years ago that you saw? Like, you don't really see them pop up anymore, but you saw them like years beforehand, where it was like Sadie Adler story DLC confirmed, or like, you know, Javier Escuela expansion, you know, play as Dutch prequel, like DLC. Like, you'd get like those videos recommended to you where you were like, supposedly they were gonna add a big story DLC where you're gonna play as some of the other characters. It never happened. Now, the reason that you don't see those clickbait anymore, like the story DLC, Red Dead Redemption 2 story DLC clickbait, is because Rockstar actually made a statement in September of 2019 where they said, we will not make any kind of story DLC. Rockstar actually made that kind of statement, and after that, they the story DLC clickbait stopped. Oh, here's how you can save Arthur. Yeah, those videos, remember those? Those were annoying. Bro, is the comment controversial? Wait, what? No, the clickbaiters never admit to being wrong. I think Niko Bellic is the most broken protagonist of all time, my opinion. Same thing with Kiryu from Yakuza. Oh, I don't know who Kiryu is. But yes, Niko is definitely a broken man. Vic Vance is probably a broken man too, in GTA Vice City Stories. It's a pretty far drive. If you search GTA San Andreas Carcer City, you'll be able to find the commercial. I think it plays when the radio goes into break. Okay, Mr. Nowhere. Thank you for the super chat. On the next mission of Manhunt, you'll be tasked with bringing something to a locked gate, but don't do that. But use a weapon that decapitates, and you'll see why. Okay, guys, I'll keep that in mind. I missed all the Ghost as Gas Furies from Modern Warfare 2 2009. Oh yeah, those people were talking about that. But, you know, Gas got shot in the face with Desert Eagle. There's no way he's gonna survive.
That way.
But you know, do you know what GTA game has a ton of clickbait surrounding it? It's San Andreas. You know, you ever get those videos recommended to you? What happens if CJ stops Tenpenny before he flees Los Santos? Like, you know, stuff like that. What happens if CJ kills Tenpenny early in the game? You can't. There's like, that's, like, you get videos like that come up. Sabotage wedding mission, GTA 6 just a thought. Wait, what do you mean, E-Man? Sabotage wedding mission? Who's worse, Leopold or Pol Pot? Oh. This is a shack here? I don't think I remember this one here. That's a hard question to answer, who's worse, Leopold or Pol Pot, because they were both really, really bad people. Both of them killed millions of people. Does Tenpenny even appear outside of cutscenes early in the game? No, he only appears in cutscenes until the very final mission. That's when you actually see him. Bro, do sanctions work? Most of the time, no. They don't. People think that sanctions do work, but here's the thing about this. North Korea has basically been sanctioned to, you know, how many times? North Korea is probably the most sanctioned country in the world. Has the North Korean economy completely collapsed? Has the North Korean regime collapsed? No. North Korea has gotten so many sanctions on them in decades. Decades they've gotten so many sanctions, and it doesn't do anything. And so it's, sanctions ultimately don't work. It's just, for the most part, they don't. You know, they might damage the economy of the country a bit, but, you know, they don't. The purpose of sanctions, ultimately, is to try to get people in the country to change the government, but most of the time it just fails. The people in the country don't oftentimes change the government. And the thing about this is, you could actually argue that sanctions actually, empower dictators. Because then what dictators will do is dictators will state, they'll say, oh, why are you poor? Why are you hungry? It's because of the American sanctions. That's what Venezuela does. Venezuela does that all the time. Is Venezuela, they constantly say, oh, the reason you're poor, you know, the reason our inflation is so bad, the reason you're hungry, it's because of the Americans. The Americans are why you're hungry. The Americans are the reason why you're poor, and people believe that. But the reason that people are poor in Venezuela and they're hungry in Venezuela and inflation in Venezuela is so out of control, it's not because of the American sanctions, but it's because the Venezuelan government has absolutely no idea what they're doing and they nationalized everything. That's why. The sanctions aren't responsible for the, you know, massive amounts of inflation that's happening in Venezuela, but the Venezuelan government nonetheless uses that as an excuse to attack the U.S. They use that as propaganda against the U.S. basically. So that's the thing is that if the U.S. removed all the sanctions from Venezuela, the Venezuelan economy would still be the exact same state that it is right now. And so, but then in that case, the Venezuelan government wouldn't have an excuse anymore at that point. Doesn't North Korea have counterfeit cash? Yes, it counterfeits US dollar bills, and it puts them in circulation in the US, yes. Hardest mission in Max Payne? I would say probably the Punincello mansion, because there's a lot of guys with grenade launchers, and there's so close quarters, so it's so easy to die. Bro, what is the hardest challenge in Just Cause 3? I don't know. I'd have to replay the game. I could probably give you an answer to that one day if I replayed the game. But some of the challenges I know, like the stunt challenges, some of them get really, really hard. I do remember that about Just Cause. Wait, what, Resident Dark? You get anything for getting all the stars on Manhunt? Oh, I didn't play the Resident Evil 2 remake, so I don't know. I gotta give it a try, though. Kirsten, are you selling something? Kirsten, are you selling something? Bro, is Nicaragua a dictatorship? It's a country, yes. Nicaragua is very much a dictatorship. It's been controlled by Daniel Ortega for, you know, how long? Hasn't he been in power since, like, the early 2000s or even the 90s? I'd have to look into that. I also gotta make that poll in a moment here. He's been in office since 2007. But yeah, I don't trust the I don't trust the Nicaraguan government. And the Nicaraguan government associates with Cuba and Venezuela a lot. They consider Cuba and Venezuela their allies. So when you associate with allies like that, it does not really give me a very good impression of your government. Will there ever be a comparable GTA competitor in the future? No. The closest we ever got to that was Saints Row, and they ruined their opportunity. I keep them, Buddy's game room. I have a massive closet of just costumes. Who's that? Greatest Within? I'll have to look that person up. I don't know who that is. He was an abolitionist, it says here. I've actually never heard of this guy. He was leading a revolt to free slaves. Yeah, I don't know everything about him here, but from what I'm reading, he doesn't seem like a bad person. See here. El Salvador recently cracked down on crime, right? Honestly, South America needs more leaders like the new one in Argentina. Well, thank you for the super chat, Mario. I don't really tend to get involved in politics, but the one thing that I will say about Argentina really quickly is Argentina is probably the first country in the world, the first country that has ever elected a libertarian to be their president. I don't know if it's I mean, maybe it happened in another country. I don't know, but Argentina is definitely the largest country then that has elected a libertarian to be their president. That's like the first time that has happened, because libertarians run in a lot of elections around the world, but they never tend to win. But they won in Argentina, and that surprises me. But I'm also interested to see, you know, because we've never seen a libertarian government really in power before. We've never really seen it. It hasn't happened before. And so I'm very curious to see, you know, if it's actually going to fix Argentina's economy, if it's actually going to go better. Because the previous government really was printing a ton of money. So I'm really curious to see what the libertarian government in Argentina is going to do, if it's going to work or not. Daniel Ortega was president twice. He was also in office from 1985 to 1980. But here's the thing: just because somebody's a president does not mean that they're not a dictator. That was a do I know who El Chapo is? Yes, the cartel boss. He's the big cartel boss that constantly escapes from prison. Thank you, Stefab. Some people say that, some people say Saints Row, Sleeping Dogs, Yakuza, Watch Dogs are all GTA clones to that. I say no. Also, these people never played those games. Yeah, those games are competitors. They're not clones. They're competitors. And Sleeping Dogs, you play as a cop. So how can you even accuse that of being a GTA clone? I played Midnight Club in the past, yeah. Have you heard of White Death? He's the deadliest sniper in history and killed over 500 Soviet soldiers. 505 exactly. And yes, his name is Simo Haiha. I know about him. The interesting thing about Simo Haiha is Simo Haiha did not use a scope because he thought that it would give away his position. He used the Finnish M38 rifle, which the Finnish M38, it is an updated version of the Russian Mosin Nagant. It's actually, you could actually argue the Finnish M38 is actually better than the Mosin Nagant. But yeah, he would also... Simo Haiha was known for chewing snow, just so that the vapors from his breath would not show in the wintertime. He was known for that as well. Bro, why were the Japanese so brutal in war? What I'll say about that is the main reason that Japan was so brutal in war was because of their monarchy. That's primarily the reason. Because the Japanese saw their monarchy as a god. They saw their monarchy as a god. They worshipped basically their monarchy as a living human god. And so they basically saw anybody that they conquered as inferior to them. And, you know, enemies of their emperor. And to be an enemy of the emperor is the, you know, worst absolute thing. So they basically treated anybody that fought against them as, you know, just the worst, even if it was just civilians in the occupying country. They saw them as inferior to them. The Japanese also, the reason that they were so brutal to prisoners of war is because the Japanese heavily believed in Bushido, the Code of the Samurai. And the Code of the Samurai is very against surrendering. It's that you don't surrender, you fight till the end. Because in the Japanese belief back then, they believed that if you surrendered, that they actually believed that surrendering was worse than death. That's what they actually considered in their culture back then. And they thought that having an honorable death, you know, death in combat, was better than surrendering. Because if you surrendered, you were fighting for the emperor, and if you surrendered, you basically disrespected the emperor, who is a living god. And so that is that's basically it. They treated prisoners of war horribly because they saw them as surrendering. They didn't even want to fight them. They saw them as not wanting to fight. They saw them as cowardly, and so they basically saw them as inferior to them. And so they just treated them like crap. They treated them horribly. So the Japanese, it was mostly blamed on the monarchy. It's a combination of monarchy, religion, and but that's basically to explain it with the Japanese empire. People say John Brown was brutal. I'm pretty sure, is being one of the sparks of the Civil War. Is revolution necessary if rights are infringed? Well, here's the thing. What I will say, I don't know about John Brown, completely, so I'd have to read up on him. But what I just Googled, like, a few minutes ago, it said about him that he was an abolitionist who led a revolt to basically end slavery. Which, people were being, you can't own another human being as property. So they were, back then, he was fighting against that injustice. So I don't see anything personally wrong with what he did. I would have to read up more on what he did, but if it says that he led a, rebellion to free slaves and end slavery, then I don't see that there's anything, bad about that. Thoughts on North Korea having chemical weapons and thoughts on chemical warfare in general. Here's the thing: is North Korea could deploy some kind of biological weapon in South Korea, if they were to attack South Korea. That would definitely be a that could cause a ton of chaos if they spread some deadly disease around. Okay. I'm gonna start up a bounty here, probably. The best way to earn money Reddit online is to have the bounty license, and the trader and the collector, and do a bounty mission, have your trader and moonshiner producing, and then as you pick up the bounty target, look for collectibles along the way. Guys, if you could just don't argue in the chat. Okay. Okay, I'll watch it and I'll look into it, Greatest Within. Viking Tomb. Okay, I'll see you, Own Titan. Take care, man. No, I don't stream on Twitch. Yes, I'm using the PS5 controller right now, I am. I'm using the Edge. Does anybody else have the, Edge here besides me? The PS5 Edge controller? What causes people or leaders to become dictators, usually wanting absolute power? Here's the thing about this. What I'll tell you guys about dictators is... Here's the thing is that, what people don't know about dictators is I've seen a lot of comments of people saying, why can't dictators be good people for their people? Why are dictators oftentimes so brutal? Like, I see a lot of comments of people saying, why are most, like, 90% of dictators such brutal, evil, awful people to their people? Like, you know, if they have absolute power, couldn't they improve their country? Well, they absolutely could, but why are they oftentimes so brutal and so corrupt and so evil? The reason for that is because to be a dictator, you have to be a ruthless, evil person. That's basically how most dictators, they come to power through some kind of manipulation, some kind of coup, or some kind of civil war, something, you know, something usually along those lines. And so the person that's going to become a dictator is usually somebody that's extremely manipulative, somebody that knows how to claw their way to power. And so by default, that person is going to be cruel and evil. Just by default, because they've basically done everything they can to get the power. They will do the most evilest things to get any kind of power whatsoever. So you're gonna have awful, evil people. You know, the only dictator that I can think of in history that was, you know, somewhat decent to their people and wasn't, like, you know, completely a bad person was Lee Kuan Yew, who was the dictator of Singapore. Because Lee Kuan Yew actually turned Singapore into an economic giant. You know, the average Singaporean makes more money than the average American today. So Singaporeans are richer than the average American. The average Singaporean is richer than the average American. So they have very high standards of living in Singapore, and, you know, their city is just, you know, their country and city is this, you know, economic powerhouse. So that's like one of the few dictators that I can think of that actually did care about his people. But what I will say is that most dictators are not like him. You know, the vast majority of dictators are just really evil, horrible people in general. Has the Edge controller drifted yet? I've had drift on my Edge controller, like, a few months back, but I bought a new stick, and that fixed the problem. But anyways, guys, you see this with my Edge controller? Look at this. See this? That peeling. And this part, too? See that? Peeling, too. So, the grips on my Edge controller are peeling. It's happened. I don't know if I can get a new one. I probably should have done when I had a chance with my warranty. I would have to look into that if I can still get a warranty. But I just haven't had the chance to, and I wonder if that'll even cover on the warranty. But isn't it like 1 year on the warranty? I think it is, right? I gotta look up. I bought this controller like January sometime there. Thank God, did I buy it from Best Buy now? I'm trying to remember where the hell I bought it from. I think I bought it from Best Buy. Purchases. This is where it is here. Best Buy. I'll tell you guys when I purchased this Edge controller. Yeah, but I don't know if I can even I should look into if I can get the controller works fine, but it's just the grips are just really annoying with the has that happened to anybody else where, like, the grips on your Edge controller, they peel? Yeah, I think that adding rubber grips to this controller, I think, was a terrible idea. I think they should just kept the plastic grips. Because they wanted the rubber grips to say, oh, it's easier to, to hold the controller, to get it together, but it's just, it starts peeling afterwards, and it gets annoying. Okay, once I purchased this, Second, everyone, sorry. Okay, it's having a problem logging into my Best Buy account. Okay, but I got it for now. Okay, let's see here. Okay, into my account. Let's see here. Was it Best Buy where I purchased the controller from? Well, I'm pretty sure it was Amazon then. Why is it not appearing in my orders list then? That's the question. It was 2023 when I purchased it. I have to scroll all the way to yeah, I can't find it for some reason in my list here, whatever. Gotta look for a little later. But has that happened to anyone else where the grips on your Edge controller peel? I just wasn't looking at the comments before. Did you know that there was black soldiers in the American Civil War? Of course. The vast majority of black soldiers that were in the Civil War fought on the Union side. What I will say about it is, there is unfortunately a lot of people out there. I don't know why they believe this, but they think that the Confederacy had nothing to do with slavery when that's not true. The majority of the state constitutions for the Confederacy, cited slavery as the reason for secession, and also there was a law in the Confederacy because there was a draft in the Confederacy, and the law in the Confederacy was that if you own 20 or more slaves, you are not subject to the draft. There are a few pictures out there online of like black soldiers wearing Confederate uniforms, and so what people do is people will basically lie about history. They'll take like those few pictures and they'll say, "Oh, this is proof that that the Confederacy wasn't for slavery." But what they don't know is those black soldiers that are actually wearing Confederate uniforms were actually forced to fight, and they were slaves. So all of those black soldiers were owned by somebody. They were slaves. So that's so the vast majority of black soldiers were on the Union side, but the few black soldiers that were on the Confederate side were basically forced to fight, and they were slaves. Bro, I can't believe it's been a year since I've been a member. By the way, you made my day when you said F you, Frostle. Thank you, Super Mario. Yeah, that Isaac Frost boss battle pissed me off. Was working in retail boring? Yes, but I would say it was more annoying than boring at times. When it was boring, I preferred it to be boring. Because people, customers weren't being annoying. But when customers were annoying, that's... yeah. What is a good example of an independent country that did not ever have a civil war? That's very hard to answer. The vast majority of countries in the world had civil wars. Some countries have even had multiple civil wars. I think that France is the country in Western Europe that has had the most amount of civil wars. Like, France had so many civil wars. Like, people don't think of France having a ton of civil wars, but it did. Like, France's history had so many civil wars in their history. So I think France is probably the Western European country that had the most amount of civil wars. But you're saying an independent country that has had the least amount of civil wars and is successful? I'd say probably Singapore, but Singapore is still a relatively modern country. If you're talking about an older country, did Germany have any? Yeah, Germany had a few civil wars. You know, there were so many German city-states that fought against each other back in the day. And also, Germany in the 1920s had a civil war as well. There was a communist revolution in Germany. So there was a ton of, like, a ton of countries that, was it 5 civil wars in France? I'm trying to think. There was civil wars in France, even going back to the medieval ages, too, with several kingdoms in France. In most recent times, the French Revolution was the most modern civil war. And then there was the French Revolution, and you could argue that France had, I think, like 5 or 6 governments in 200 years. France had like 5 or 6 governments. It's like, it's insane. The UK had a civil war like hundreds of years ago when it was a civil war between Charles and the Parliamentarians. That was a civil war that happened a long time ago. But the UK did have a civil war, or England did have a civil war, despite what people think. I think, was it even the UK back then? I'm trying to remember if it was the UK, but it did have a civil war. Yes, the Irish had a civil war too. And it also depends on what you view as a civil war. I guess that's it, because a lot of people in Britain, for example, view the American Revolution as a civil war, but most Americans would not view it as a civil war. So they view it as a war against a foreign, occupying force. So there are conflicts like that where both sides will argue if it was a civil war or not. Here, but I can't think of like an independent country that has had like no civil wars. I can't think of one, honestly. Well, France had the French Revolution. It had Napoleon's coup, which wasn't really a civil war, but Napoleon had taken power. Then France had a revolution in the 1830s where they overthrew their monarchy. Then they overthrew their second monarchy in the 1840s, and then they had another revolution in the 1870s. So there was, like, France has had so many governments. The South fought for states' rights to do what? Well, yeah, exactly. Here's the thing about this, is, it's fine to support states' rights. I think states' rights are generally a good thing. However, though, the Civil War, on the other hand, had nothing to do with states' rights. The Civil War was a war basically to keep slavery. That whole states' rights argument did not come to exist until like the 1870s and 1880s. So it was like a decade after the Civil War. There was a bunch of Confederate veterans that were basically trying to push this propaganda to say that the American Civil War, that it had nothing to do with slavery, and that it was supposedly for states' rights. So they basically tried to do that to change their image in history when the war was basically fought to keep slaves. And what I will say also about the Civil War is that the southern states, they loved federal power when it was on their side. So that's the funny thing is the people that defend the Confederacy, they say, oh, states' rights, states' rights, states' rights. But what they don't know is that the southern states loved federal power when the federal power was on their side. So when the federal power was doing something on their side, they absolutely loved it. So I'll give you guys an example. There was the Fugitive Slave Act. The Fugitive Slave Act was a federal law that was passed with the support of a lot of southern states. And the Fugitive Slave Act basically said that if a slave escapes from a slave state and goes to like a northern free state, that northern free state has to turn over that slave, even if slavery is banned in that state. So they would have to turn it, because this was a federal law that the southern states had actually passed, and this was enforced by the federal government, and the southern states were perfectly fine with that. So when they say states' rights, they supported federal. That's a massive abuse of federal power right there. They supported federal abuse when it benefited them. So that's so, like, don't believe those arguments when people say that it was over states' rights. It was a war primarily fought to keep slavery. You know, there's no doubt about that. It's, you know, I don't know how some people believe that it had nothing to do with slavery. The Confederate government, you mean? Well, this is before the Confederacy became a government, when it was still part of the Union. They passed a law. It was the Fugitive Slave Acts. And also the Fugitive Slave Acts also punished people who helped slaves. So if you actually helped a slave escape, you would actually get punished for that as well under the Fugitive Slave Acts. So it's federal law that they had punished. So like if you were hiding like a slave in your house that was like escaped, you'd get punished for that as well. It depends on the state specifically. It might be a fine, it might be jail time, but people would also get punished for that as well. So it's did Mexico have a civil war? Yes, Mexico had a few civil wars. Mexico had a bunch of civil wars actually. Let me see here. Does James Pegorino know Ray Bulgren? I don't think so. Let's go and do some poker. I haven't done poker in some time. Was that the battle fought over the coal miners? Was that what that was, Preston? It was like a bunch of coal miners. Okay. Let me scroll up here. I'm gonna scroll up a bunch here. Missed a bunch of comments. No, I don't have a Discord. I used to use Discord a bunch. I mean, I have a Discord personally, but I don't have like a Discord server. Thoughts on concentration camps? Well, what I will say is that the US did a really good job at denazifying Germany after the war, and the thing about this is the media and the US government also, after the Civil War, they failed in one aspect, and that was showing people in the southern states, especially, the brutality of slavery. They didn't fully, the media at the time and the government didn't fully show people just how brutal it was. If they had shown people it, the same way that they had shown Germany the atrocities they had committed, then perhaps maybe segregation would not have happened. You would not have had those, you know, terrible racist laws that were in the former Confederate states. But basically, the most effective thing that the U.S. did at denazifying Germany, because what happened is after World War II ended, even though the Nazis were defeated, there were still millions of people in Germany, millions, I'm saying like huge amounts of people who thought that Nazism was a good system. Like there was polls that were taken in Germany like in the 1950s, which like showed that like a huge amount of people still thought that Nazism was like a good idea. And so the US did their absolute best to try to denazify Germany. And one of the things the US did that was very effective at denazifying Germany is right after World War II, what the U.S. would do is they would take, the U.S. soldiers would take like a bunch of civilians from like a town in Germany that was like near a concentration camp. And what they would do is they would take all the German civilians and they would bring them to the concentration camp, and they would just have them just see all the bodies and just the atrocities. And while it was brutal, you know, bringing people to see something like that, it definitely, you know, shocked people. It definitely, you know, horrified them. It was important for them to see that with their own eyes. They had to see that. Because what happened is, when World War II ended, and basically, you know, countries at that point had a pretty good idea that the Holocaust was going on, that there was some kind of, you know, genocide going on, but after World War II, just discovered the massive scale that it had happened on. You know, you had millions of people that were just slaughtered, millions of people who had been murdered. And what happened was, after World War II, there was, the news in Germany was like starting to talk about the Holocaust. There was like people in Germany that were basically saying, oh, you know, it's propaganda, it's not real, it's just American and Soviet propaganda. You know, there were people that didn't believe it. They just thought that it was just lies. And so one of the most effective things to get around that and to have people stop believing, that nonsense is to actually show them itself, show them the camps, and show them what actually happened there. So there's pictures on Google that you can find of like where the U.S. Army had like taken civilians to like those concentration camps, and they had shown them that. So that was important. It was important that people need to see it for themselves. This is what your government did. This is what your leader did to people. Did Australia have a civil war? Now that I think about it, no, I don't think so. But Australia has been part of Britain for a very long time. So that was, so Australia did not have as much independence as like some of the other countries for hundreds of years. It is an independent country now, but it was part of the British Empire for a very long time. I might look into that dearly. Why do triads use meat cleavers? The same reason that the Sicilian Mafia used the stun-off shotgun. It was their signature weapon. So the thing about that is that most Mafia hits back in the day, like a long time ago, they a lot of times when people think of Mafia hits, they oftentimes think of some hitman coming in and just shooting somebody in the head with a handgun. But the traditional Sicilian way of like killing the Mafia, the way the Mafia killed somebody, a sawn-off shotgun. That was typically their signature kill. And that was so that when somebody gets blown away by a sawn-off shotgun, everybody knows that it was the Sicilian Mafia who did that. It's the exact same thing with the Triads. When the Triads use the meat cleaver, it's their signature kill. So when somebody gets killed in the meat cleavers, you don't know which Triad did it, but the only thing you know is that the Triads did it. It's a signature kill. So that people know, what organization did it. It was to intimidate and scare people. Maybe I could do that, Wild Haggis. Yeah. King and a 7. Oh, no, I don't have anything here. I just finished watching your bully playthrough. Great ending. Thank you, Bokan. Thanks, man. Yeah, but that's I understand that, Mario, but that's still relatively modern. That's still because, the US is even much older than that, double. Okay, I got a matching card here now. Yes, the Gallipoli campaign with the Anzac soldiers in World War I in the Ottoman Empire. Would America have won the Revolutionary War without the help from Spain and France? If Spain and France had not gotten involved, both Britain and America would have lost the Revolutionary War. Now, you're probably wondering how. How would both sides lose? How does that make any sense? Because when the American Revolutionary War started, 40% of the population in the 13 colonies were pro-patriot. The patriots were the revolutionary side. 30% were loyalists, and the other 30% were undecided. They didn't know what side they were going to take. They didn't know. And what happened is, I just won a huge amount here. And what happened is that as the war progressed, like through the years, the amount of patriots skyrocketed. So the amount of people that, became patriots in that time, the undecided people, and a few loyalists even became patriots. So it just skyrocketed, and it just kept getting higher and higher. And eventually, like, when the Revolutionary War was getting near its end, in the, 1780, for example, at that point, Britain was losing the war. 1780, 70% of the population of the 13 colonies were patriots. So the vast majority of people at that point, they were supporting the revolution. And so if France and Spain did not get involved, what basically would have happened is this. Britain would have taken over America, probably, most likely, but Britain would have lost in the end. Because even though they would have taken over America, what would have happened is Britain would have had an insurgency in the 13 colonies that would last for decades, and they would not be able to sustain their troops in there. The insurgency would get so out of control that they would not be able to handle it. Because imagine if 70% of the country, 70% of the people in the region think that you're the enemy, and then trying to occupy that force where 70% of the people hate you. Just imagine the insane insurgency that would happen, that would cause. So Britain would not be able to handle it in the end. So that's basically what would happen if Spain and France did not get involved. I'm not sure you know this, but apparently if you just source crates from the Terabyte, you won't get Lupe crate missions. I know about that, Eric. I do. But I oftentimes I don't want to do that because I just rather just find new session, just go right to my office. Thank you, Eric. Am I familiar with Executive Order 9066? I don't know what that is, Wolfman. Thank you for the super chat. I could Google it. Let's see here. What is this here? Oh, this is the Japanese internment camps. Okay, I know the history. I just didn't know the exact law that it was passed under. But yes, I do know the history on this. Thank you for the super chat, Wolfman. The thing about that, the Japanese internment camps, this was wrong, and this was extremely racist at the time against, and a lot of times people that weren't even Japanese were just thrown in the internment camps. If you were just an Asian American, you were also a lot of times thrown in the internment camps. But here's the thing, is Italian Americans and German Americans were not put in the internment camps. Why? Think about that. You're fighting Italy and you're fighting Germany at the same time. Why are they not getting put in the internment camps? If it's for potential spies, couldn't the German and Italian Americans be just as much spies as the Japanese Americans? So it was a racist system. Because if you started interning German Americans and Italian Americans, how many, you would have so many people that are in top positions, especially in the U.S. government. Their families would then get thrown into, in the internment camps. So the Japanese Americans were a minority at the time, and that was just basically a racist attempt to, to basically they didn't trust them. It was the whole, and the thing about that is that the survivors of the internment camps, the people who are still alive, because the internment camps, anybody who was still alive, I think it was like the 90s when it happened, the Supreme Court ruled that it was wrong and would offer compensation to anybody who was in one of those internment camps. Okay, see here. Let me see here. What kind of cards do I have here? Okay, well, Chaz. Star Wars reference? Wait, what? But yeah, the Japanese internment camps were probably the worst thing that the U.S. did during World War II. Is like, and the thing about this is, citizens are citizens. Even if somebody is born in another country, if they're a citizen, they have the exact same rights as somebody that's born here. And throwing people into a camp because they are because they are different ethnicity, and they're citizens too, that's just, you can't do something like that. But here's the thing, people don't know about this. It was FDR who did that. A lot of people don't know that. FDR did that. Is the American dream dead? Thank you, Ryan, for the super chat. No, No, I wouldn't say so. I think that people can still, I think that I wouldn't say that the American dream is dead. I would say that the American dream is harder to achieve today than what it was back then. That's what I would use to describe it. And I think the primary reason is probably inflation. I think inflation is probably the biggest threat to the American dream, because my dad tells me a lot of times. He tells me how he's like I had it easier, when I came to this country when I was younger than you do today. My dad tells me that when he came to this country, he said that in the 1980s that you could go into a diner and have eggs, a ham sandwich and coffee. There's a few bucks. But now today a meal's like that's gonna be way more expensive. The problem with inflation is that everything is becoming more expensive, but do you know what's not rising? Wages aren't rising. So everything's getting more expensive, but at the same time people's wages aren't going up. Okay, Preston, I know a bit about it, but I have to look into it still more. No, I get that, Mario, but I'm just saying is that the Japanese internment camps were purely set up on racism, because if by the logic, if you're using the logic that the Japanese Americans could be spies, then by that logic you also have to put German Americans and Italian Americans into internment camps if you're using that exact same logic, but they didn't. German Americans and Italian Americans were not put into internment camps like Japanese Americans were, because then you would have millions more people that would be put in these internment camps. So it was primarily to target the Japanese minority that was in America at the time. Bro, do you know that German Americans did in New Jersey? They blew up trains. I don't know about that. I didn't know about that. But I do know that there was German spies in New York during World War II. I know about that. Oh, I'm ending this stream soon. Wait, what, Landon? Well, if that's the case, Carter, then you're gonna have, corporations, getting richer, making more money, and then you're gonna have people, people are spending more money and they're making less. So other people are getting richer while other people are getting poorer. Yeah, Fallout 4's assault rifle looks stupid. How do you prevent inflation? One of the biggest ways to prevent inflation is stop borrowing so much money and stop printing so much money. That's one thing you can do to reduce inflation, probably. I don't know, Mystical. Oh, I didn't know that George Takei was actually, I didn't know that he was in one of the Japanese internment camps. I did not know that. Oh, okay, London. What's your opinion on Rainbow Six Siege? Honestly, I have a love-hate relationship with Rainbow Six Siege. I think that Rainbow Six Siege is a fun game when you do the co-op, the terrorist hunt, but I absolutely refuse to play the multiplayer. Why? Because the people in Rainbow Six Siege are such sweats in the multiplayer. They're such sweats, it's ridiculous. It's people take that game way too seriously. They're extremely toxic. But also, what I hate about Rainbow Six Siege is that what people will do is they'll like crack the wall. They'll like make this small little hole in the wall where they can see you perfectly, but you can barely see them. And then you go through like a room and they'll instant headshot you. That's like, I've always hated that about Rainbow Six Siege. Here. Oh. That person with the ace and 9 is beating me just by one. Ah. Damn, if he didn't get that king, I would have won that. Oh, man. Yeah, killing off Carl was stupid.
What it'll be today, partner?
I'm pretty sure Italian Americans were also lynched at some point too. Not a lot of people seem to know this. I was surprised to find out too. Well, Italian Americans were targeted in New Orleans. That's like where they suffered extreme discrimination in the early 1900s. There are some in New York too, but the worst anti-Italian violence happened in New Orleans. There was some really gruesome killings in New Orleans that had happened. But by the time of like World War II, though, it was like Japanese Americans were suffering much more discrimination than Italian Americans were. Wait, what's that a reference to, NBA? Chris who, what? Do we know the next Assassin's Creed game is going to take place in Japan? Live PD, I don't think I've watched it. Yeah, I'm gonna end in a moment. Yeah, I know about that Razu. His face got messed up because of it, too. Oh, Resident Evil? Huh. Yeah. That's Wesker's favorite word is Chris. I don't think I would have the patience to play a game like Hearts of Iron, honestly. I'm just not into games like that. I'm much more into a game like Mount and Blade Bannerlord. Yes, that is true. That is true, Pyro. Let me look up that specific unit just to make sure that I have the right one. Yes, this is the Japanese American unit on it. So there was Japanese American units that fought proudly and had a lot of honors in World War II. I think that the vast majority of the Japanese American units, I think that they fought in oh great, these wolves here are getting really annoying. Yeah, so the vast majority of the Japanese American units, I think, fought in Europe during World War II. But some Japanese Americans I know were translators. They were translators in the Pacific Front, but I think that most of the Japanese Americans fought in the European theater. Controlling the Mojave makes you... Yeah, I know that line. That's in, That is in Fallout New Vegas. Maybe I could try the Arkham games one day. The thing that gets the most annoying about the wolves is your horse. What Sopranos character do you hate the most? Either Richie, Ralph, or Livia. I did 20 years. That's a reference to Phil in The Sopranos. Yes, we did, Chaz. Okay, guys, so I think that I'm gonna probably wrap up the stream here, guys. So, if there's anything you want to ask me before I go, I'll answer a few questions before I go here. I'm gonna get some food right now here. Good broadcast. Thank you, bro. Thank you, Witty. You made a super chat? Oh, I'm sorry if I missed it. Let me look. Joel dies 1.5 hours into the game. Yep, that was the problem with The Last of Us 2. It happened too soon, and when it did happen, it was kind of stupid. I remember Wesker, he's like, Chris, the way that he says it in Resident Evil 5. But the writing in Resident Evil 5 was pretty bad. I didn't like the story in that one too much. The Pecorino video was dope. Thank you for your time. Thank you. No, I've never... Well, I've been in Wisconsin, but I haven't stopped in Wisconsin. I just drove through Wisconsin in the past. Oh, I don't know what's going on, Lyndon. I guess I'll talk to him, and I'll message you also a little bit later, then. Yeah, Resident Evil 6 story was pretty bad, too, I heard. Yeah. I ordered pizza. I'll enjoy, though. Pizza's awesome food. What game do you think Rockstar will make after GTA 6? Maybe another bully game? I guess I'll have to see. They're definitely not going to make another Manhunt game because they'll get too much controversy. But I guess we'll be wrapping it up here, guys. Thank you guys for thank you guys for watching, and if you guys enjoyed my stream, do drop a like, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.